So tell me about you and your business.
My name is Matt McAllister, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mortgage Propeller. So what is Mortgage Propeller? Well, Mortgage Propeller is an innovative mortgage business that was created before the pandemic, because we thought advice eventually would start to go online. So turns out the pandemic moved it online very, very quickly. So, which was a help and a hindrance, but it's obviously we were right about that. We didn't think it'd be right in the way. So it helps brokers be more efficient and allows borrowers to get the advice that they need quicker and more conveniently.
All right, and how long have you been doing it for? You said it was before the pandemic. When did you start?
Well, we incorporated. We talked about this in 2018. Myself, one of the co-founders, were working on it in 2019. Incorporated the business in January 20, signed the shareholders agreement in March 2020, and then went in immediate lockdown. So it never actually, yeah. And then I went on the dole. That's what happened after that, till about August. Yeah. Okay, what are you going to do? That's I was a goner. That was that.
Well, the world certainly changed in March 2020. So tell me, Matt, who would be your ideal customer?
You've probably got two types of ideal customer. If you think about it, like Mortgage Propeller started out to have brokers on one side and borrowers on the other. So what's your ideal borrower? Well, we set out to try and help borrowers and help brokers. So if you look at it, the two types, you've got a broker who wants to do better, who's been held back to know what's possible from their business. There's some brokers that can do. We know one of our investors does over $250 million of mortgage advice per year. $250 million. So he does nearly 800 mortgages per year by himself. Whereas the average might be in the year 50. Now, what's the difference? And this person is clearly doing that level of volume because he's great. And the thing is that he has processes in place, doesn't even have his technology. We had to spend an awful lot on administrative staff to help them with the admin. And we're like, well, that's not how it should be. If somebody's so good, they should be able to reach up. So I suppose the first person is somebody who loves the job, wants to do better, is hungry to do better, and believes in what they do and love helping every client, save money on a remortgage, get the keys to their home. That's who you want. Everything else comes around that. On the borrower side, I suppose the ideal one would be someone who is a little bit more tech savvy, who is, we've seen that 65% of use from consumers was borrowers was using their mobile phone. So that's the sort of change. And if that continues, then we'll be in a good place because people are doing things on the fly. They're completing things on the fly. They're back and forth with apps and whatever else. So that would be the ideal person. No sort of age discrimination, no sort of size of mortgage size. If they do that, then everybody will be efficient, and it'll move. The system will move faster and cleaner. So maybe that's not the best description, but that's the way I would sort of think about it.
Okay, excellent. And we talked about the pandemic. So your business got the green light and the red light around about the same time then. So of all the actions that you've taken around the pandemic, are there any that will remain as part of your business?
See, we probably didn't really have a chance. Like the pandemic, we were in lockdown and we were done. I was on the dole, no interest, and then suddenly everyone went online. And the co-founder was telling me, he's like, look, this has changed. Everything that we thought that might happen in 5-10 years, it's just happened in 5 weeks. So we didn't really have a choice. I would say we're probably the opposite. We all started remotely. It was me and Brendan there working, side by side, day by day, online, remotely. Lockdown, and then we hired Rachel, the marketing manager. Then we hired more staff as we went along, all like this. But if anything, I'd go back. I would do the opposite. We just took a new office there down in the Titanic Quarter. Oh, I know that this is not being remote is not going to be the same as being together. So I'm going to try and do the opposite, which is try and get us into the office as much as possible. Try and get us together as a team. Try and help with the culture. Help side by side work, which is a big part of having the mortgage advisors together, being with a team effort. So almost things that you did to survive the pandemic, I would like to unwind them a little bit. The flexibility is there. That's there forever. Don't be worrying about when people get in. Just people will do their job if you're doing it right. So, but I'd like to get back to as much of the older stuff the way it was before. I don't think that's replicable in any way with technology. the camaraderie of people being side by side.
No, it's a really interesting viewpoint on that. And I guess what would you say has been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
I've been a business owner a couple of times in different ways. You know, I was a stock market trader for nearly 15 years. And while you just looked after your own, you didn't have staff, or maybe you had admin or risk helping you, but you were by yourself. And again, that job, it became sort of techy, and it was very, number crunching and statistics and things like that. But what really helped you through that to last that length of time was support from people in the office who were other traders side by side, and that support is there. You go into another business that I was in, and you don't know the answers, especially if you're trying to launch businesses and you need help, and if it's a new industry. I'm coming from the consumer. I was never a broker or anything like that. And you go find people who are better than you, or more experienced, who are willing to help. And that is the biggest thing I would say as a business owner, because you just don't know. But there's usually somebody out there, and we've got the internet, and you find somebody who's better, who can help you or guide you or give advice, and have the humility to realize you don't know these things. I've learned, as a trader, the market puts a bit of manners into you when you lose, half your year's salary. You realize you don't know what you're doing. After 5 years or 10 years of doing it, still happens. You're like, oh my God, this is still happening. Am I never going to learn? So when you come into Mortgage Propeller and you're a startup, you don't know something about patents, or you don't know an issue about compliance. And so I'm very big person to go and get help, go and get people that are more experienced or know the answer, or how do I find the answer, So that'll be the biggest thing with business owners, is to rely on other people to ask for help, and you'd be surprised how many people will be happy to help you.
Okay, that's good to hear. And what would you say, what inspires you most today? What gives you the most inspiration?
I seen that question in advance there, and made me think. I love to see people sort of overcoming adversity. I love it in whatever sort of fashion it is. It can be in sport, or difficult circumstances with family, or God forbid bereavement, or financial. I met a person there recently that's had a big impact on me. I don't know how they've got to where they're at today. When the things that happened, they had a child was ill, and they were almost gone, like financially, and you see someone like that there grafting and grinding and trying to make it better. And then you see the same people who are probably quite successful. There's another gentleman that I can think of who almost lost everything in the credit crunch, and has come full circle just with graft. I think it's, there's, when you see that, it gives a lot of hope to other people. I think that's very important. So when I see that, I go, it just makes me nod into myself and go, that's class. I love that.
Okay, good stuff. And if it were possible, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, that was the one I was trying to think about. I don't know I really thought on that. I really don't know, because if you're talking to your 18-year-old self, probably wouldn't listen, because he's such a idiot. So he wouldn't. But if he was going to listen, you'd maybe think about. I would probably say take it a bit handier. You keep something back, because you think you're bulletproof, and it's only when you get older and you get kids and stuff, and you realize, what, I shouldn't have went crazy for that 3 months when I went off traveling and spent all that money, and I should have kept my head down and did a bit more work, or maybe saved a little bit more, put a little bit more money to work, or try a little bit more responsible. That was never my way, but to hear that's what it is when you're young, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's really interesting. Get a lot of interesting responses to that question. So look, Matt, are there any offers or anything that you'd like us to include in the newsletter?
Well, saying typically what you would say is, like, look, just mention the newsletter, and you get, there'll be no charge from the mortgage advisors. But the thing is, that's what we set out to do. We didn't want. So look, there actually is none. Just go on to mortgagepropeller.com for seeking mortgage advice. You'll get connected to an advisor, and one of the advisors will look after you, but there won't be any fees or anything on our end.
Fantastic. Okay. Listen, look, Matt McAllister from Mortgage Propeller, it's been great to hear about you and your business. Thanks very much for your time.